Conflicts in relationships. What are some conflicts in relationships? There is lack or and poor communication, also digital texting, Snapchatting, Instagram, anything online. Differences within love languages is different ways that people present their love, whether that be affection, non-affection, anything different from the other person. Lack of affection or too much affection in some ways. Commitment, what people define commitment as and what they are bringing to the table for commitment, that can be an issue. Intimacy, too much intimacy or no intimacy at all can also be a very big conflict within romantic relationships. Infidelity is the biggest one I want to talk about because it involves many conflicts in one, because it is a major conflict. There are many conflicts within the relationships, but to understand one of the major conflicts, such as infidelity, you have to resort back to a lot of those smaller conflicts. And I've chosen to just focus on this conflict because it is so large and major in romantic relationships. So, what exactly is infidelity? Infidelity is the act of being unfaithful to a spouse or a romantic partner. It's also seen as breaking a commitment or a promise within a relationship. It's the act of being unfaithful presented within a romantic relationship, and it's a major conflict in which some romantic relationships do not tend to survive or have long-lasting problems or issues. So I chose to use one of the sources we actually had in a discussion board, which was "My Husband's Affair Saved Our Marriage from Being Mediocre." So the article actually talks about how infidelity actually turned into a positive outcome for a couple. And she states in the article that she and her husband had fought through the betrayal and worked on their marriage, and it took a lot of time and effort, but it worked. And it shows that infidelity is a major conflict that had happened in their relationship, but somehow ended up in a positive way, and it actually fixed their relationship, which was pretty cool, in my opinion. And so now we're going to talk about what problems occur from infidelity, because there is a lot. So the breaking of trust is a huge one. It really takes a long time to build trust as a person who you're going to be in a romantic relationship with, but once you're unfaithful, you kind of break that promise with them. Sometimes it can cause loss of mutual respect. The person will not see you as you've respected them, so they'll lose respect for you. Lack of communication or unwanting of communication. Some people just don't want to talk when they're hurt, and it's completely understandable. Verbal arguments. Verbal arguments is a major impact. Some people do not know how to express how they feel when they are hurt by infidelity, and it turns into a lot of arguments. The breaking of a relationship, or even a divorce in marriages. It can split a couple up because it is a major conflict that some people choose not to resolve, because in the long run, they do not know if they are going to work out. So what are some problems within the communication in relationships that can cause infidelity? So if you have no communication or limited communication, you are unable to express your feelings and you will sometimes feel a void. Some people explain it as they always feel like they're missing something and they feel like they have to reach out to other people within their romantic relationships to have that feeling again. Also, bad communication habits, such as arguing, or some people over-criticize, or the inability to communicate your problems effectively within a relationship, can actually cause some people to cheat. So I actually picked another source that I had found on my own, and it's When Better Becomes Worse. It talks about Black Americans, African Americans who have gone through a really hard time and have dealt with infidelity in their own different ways and different experiences. Some women had gotten in relationships for 6 months and some of them were married. But all of these women were mostly wives. And they had all dealt with different experiences going in and out of infidelity, and some of them had stayed there through their relationship and some of them had gotten a divorce. And it really does just state that even though the majority of husbands did not want to leave their wives acknowledged that their husband's behavior had become more secretive. And many of the husbands started creating space between them and their wives, and they were at home less often, they communicated less, they had sex less, and they became more abusive, which shows the effects of infidelity and has ruined these marriages because they know now that the secretiveness and the intimacy and everything else in their communication is blockaded by this act of unfaithfulness. So the next thing is how to help solve the problems of infidelity in a relationship. There is ways to solve it for some people. But the first step, I think, is that both parties really need to be able to both want to repair their relationship. You can't just have one, you need to have both. Also, you have to learn that trust will be repaired over time, but if it's not, you probably will not have a genuine relationship. Communication will also need to become stronger and more willing and trusting of the process to fix relationship issues instead of having to go to someone else. Also, therapy. Therapy can be a strong option for help for those couples. And there's also a potential divorce or breakup to fix that issue when you cannot accept the betrayal that happened. So,